suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation make a way to escape it, that you may be able to bear. Don't rend your garment. Don't tear the robe of ministry that's around your neck. But understand that God is greater than your circumstance. He is not any less when we are in bondage, and He is not any greater when we're walking through the Red Sea dry shod. You may have surveyed your circumstances and decided that God is either absent or unable, but neither one is true. David said, my steps, he said, they almost slipped. My feet almost slipped. I almost lost my footing. I almost gave up and raised the white flag. I almost rent my garment. But I went into the sanctuary and I got a perspective of how great my God is. I am talking tonight to somebody who has got the white flag on the pole and you're about to raise it, and the holy God of heaven is challenging and thundering to you. Don't rend your garment, Aaron, lest you die. Those high priests that served in that second temple, Herod's temple, during Jesus' time, they were not like that anointed lot of Aaron's day. They were political operatives. They were functioning in the shadow with the blessing of Rome. So we're not surprised to read that when they were confronted by Jesus Christ and his claims to be God's son, they rent their clothes and accused him of blasphemy. These men who supposedly stood in God's presence. But you contrast that with our high priest, who hanging on an 80-pound transom, facing certain physical death while drinking the bitter cup of the world's transgressions, the sins of every generation from Adam until the end, staring sin and death in the eye. The sacred record tells us that those soldiers took his garments and made 4 parts to every soldier a part, and also his coat, which they discovered was without seam woven from top throughout. And they said among themselves, we can't tear this. They said among themselves, let us not rend it. Because even the devil himself could not rent the garment of our high priest when he was hanged to die on a cross. I wish somebody would shout, yes. Stand to your feet. Who is made, say, our high priest. Not after the law of a carnal commandment, but after the power of an endless life. For he testifieth, thou art a priest forever. And they truly were many priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. But this man, because he continueth ever, hath an unchangeable priesthood, wherefore he is able to save them to the uttermost that come unto God by him, seeing that he ever liveth to make intercession for us. For such an high priest became us, Come on, somebody say it. Say, I deserved it. Such an high priest became us, who is holy, who is harmless, who is undefiled, who is separate from sinners, and is made higher than the heavens. Here's the answer. 15 verses before that prophetic promise of Holy Spirit outpouring that we love to preach. You'll read this. Rend your heart. If you're going to tear something up, don't let it be your ministry. Let it be your heart. If you're going to rip something apart, if you're going to tear something and break something apart, make it your heart, not your garment. I go forward, he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him. But he knows the way that I take. And when he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold. His way have I kept and not declined. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. I come with a simple, even if not well said, word to the men and women of ministry at BOTT tonight as an addendum to what you heard today. And that is this: you cannot stand in his presence with a garment that is rent. You don't have the luxury of despair. From where you stand, you see things others can't see. You feel things others can't feel. You hear things others don't hear. You stand in the Holy of Holies, Aaron. Your perspective better be different than everybody else's. You better be able to see that I am greater. I am greater than whatever you're going through.